She was abandoned by her husband, left to suffer alone. By the roadside she gave birth to twins, her screams drowned by passing cars. And when he drove by, he didn't stop, he splashed mud on her instead. What do you think happened to her and her twins? This is the story of a woman who endured unimaginable pain and humiliation, yet still carried within her the kind of strength that turns tragedy into destiny. Hello family, welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please, subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from, because together we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. The house was quiet that evening, too quiet. Emily Carter sat by the window of the lavish living room, her hands resting on her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant with twins, her body ached from the weight, but what hurt more was the silence, the kind that carried rejection. Michael Carter, her husband, was late again. He was always late these days. Meetings, dinners, business trips. Emily had stopped asking questions. Every time she asked, his answers grew shorter, colder. Her phone buzzed. A message from her friend. Anna, I saw Michael at the Grand Lounge tonight. He wasn't alone. Clara was with him again. Emily's throat tightened. Clara Reynolds. That woman's name had become a dagger in her chest. She had heard rumors, whispers, even seen pictures online. Michael laughing, holding Clara's hand, acting as if Emily didn't exist. The sound of the front door slamming shut snapped her out of her thoughts. Michael's footsteps echoed down the hallway, confident and careless. Michael, Emily called, trying to keep her voice calm. He entered the room, tall, polished in his expensive suit, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. His face was handsome, almost too perfect, but the warmth she once loved was gone. His eyes were cold, like a stranger's. You're late again, Emily whispered. Michael tossed his keys on the table and loosened his tie. So what? I don't owe you an explanation. Emily's lips trembled. I'm your wife, and I'm carrying your children. Don't I deserve at least a little respect? Michael laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. Respect? Emily, look at yourself. You're pathetic. Always whining, always needing attention. Do you think that's attractive? Her hands gripped the arm of the chair. I'm not pathetic. I've stood by you, Michael, through everything. I gave up my own dreams for this marriage. All I ever asked was for you to be here, with me, for us. Michael walked closer, his expression twisted with disdain. Dreams? You had no dreams, Emily. You were nothing when I met you. Just a small-town girl who got lucky when I decided to marry you. Don't fool yourself. You wouldn't have this house, these clothes, anything without me. Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You loved me once. I thought I did, he sneered. But now? You bore me. You're weak, useless, and worst of all, embarrassing. Do you know what people say behind my back? That I married beneath me. That my wife is a sick, unstable woman who doesn't belong in high society. Emily's voice broke. Those are lies, Michael. Lies you planted. He smirked, adjusting his cufflinks. Of course they are. But people believe what I want them to believe. And what they believe is that Clara Reynolds is the woman worthy of me. Not you. Her heart dropped. Clara. Yes, Clara, Michael said, his tone laced with cruelty. She's everything you're not. Beautiful, confident, from a real family with real money. When I stand next to her, I don't feel ashamed. With you, you drag me down. You make me look small. Emily shook her head in disbelief. How can you say this to me? I'm your wife. I'm carrying your children. Children I never wanted, he snapped. Do you think I asked for twins? More mouths to feed, more distractions, more reasons for people to laugh at me? I don't want them, Emily. I don't want you. And I'm done pretending. Emily gasped as if he had struck her. Michael, please. Don't say that. Don't abandon me now. I need you. The babies need their father. He leaned down, his face inches from hers, his voice low and poisonous. Listen carefully, Emily. I don't care about you. I don't care about those brats inside you. You mean nothing to me. Do you understand? Nothing. Her tears finally fell, hot and unstoppable. You can't be this cruel. He straightened, pulling out his phone. Cruel? You haven't seen Cruel yet. Tomorrow everyone will know the truth, that my wife is unstable, unfit, and that she ran away. By the time I'm done, no one will believe a word you say. Clara and I will be free of you for good. Emily clutched her belly, trembling. You're going to destroy me. Michael gave her a cold smile. That's the plan. The room felt colder than winter. Emily tried to stand, but pain shot through her body. The babies were moving violently, as if reacting to the tension. Michael, she cried out. I think the babies are coming. Please help me. I need to go to the hospital. He looked at her with disgust. Don't drag me into your drama. Call an ambulance if you want. Or better yet, crawl there yourself. I'm done with you. And then, in the most heartless act yet, he walked to the door, opened it wide and pointed outside. Get out, Emily. Out of my house. You don't belong here anymore. Emily froze. You're throwing me out? Now? At night? While I'm in labor? Michael's eyes were dead. Yes, maybe then you'll finally understand. You were never wanted. The slam of the door behind her was like a death sentence. Emily stumbled into the cold night, clutching her stomach, her cries swallowed by the darkness. Her labor pains grew sharper, and the streets stretched endlessly before her. She was alone, abandoned, carrying the weight of betrayal and the lives of her unborn children into the night. The night air was sharp against Emily's skin as she staggered down the driveway, one hand gripping her belly, the other clutching the side of the gate for support. Her body shook with every wave of pain. Behind her, the mansion glowed warmly, but inside was no home for her anymore. Michael had slammed the door on her, on their marriage, on their unborn children, on everything they once shared. She turned, hoping, praying, that he would come after her, that his heart, buried somewhere under all that cruelty, might soften just enough to see her suffering. But the curtains shifted, and through the window she saw him. Michael stood with a glass of wine. In his hand, his phone pressed to his ear, laughing. Not once did he look out at her. Not once did he care. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The contractions came harder now, tearing through her body. Like knives. She bit her lip, trying not to scream. She couldn't wake the neighbors. Michael would twist the story, and she would be the crazy one disturbing the peace. Her phone buzzed weakly in her pocket. She pulled it out, no battery. The screen went black. God, please, she whispered through tears. Don't let me do this alone. She stumbled forward, her slippers scraping against the pavement. Every step felt heavier than the last. A pair of headlights appeared at the end of the street. Relief surged through her chest. Maybe someone would stop. Maybe someone would help. The car slowed. She waved her arms desperately, tears streaming down her face. But as the vehicle drew near, her hope turned to dread. She recognized the sleek, black car instantly. Michael's car. It stopped right in front of her. For a moment she thought maybe, just maybe, he had changed his mind, that he'd open the door, rush to her side, and finally do the right thing. Instead, the window rolled down, and Clara's face appeared from the passenger side. She was smiling, beautiful as ever, her hair perfectly styled, her eyes sharp with mockery. Well, Clara drawled. Isn't this pathetic? Look at you, Emily, in the street like some beggar. Honestly, Michael, you should be ashamed. This is the mother of your children. Michael leaned over, his face illuminated by the dashboard lights. His smile was crueler than Clara's. Children I never wanted. Emily sobbed, clutching her stomach. Michael, please. I'm in labor. The babies are coming now. Don't do this. Don't leave me here. He tilted his head, as if considering her words. Then he leaned closer to Clara, his lips brushing her ear. She giggled, covering her mouth. When he turned back to Emily, his eyes were filled with scorn. You made your bed, Emily. Now, lie in it. Crawl your way to the hospital. Maybe then you'll understand you were nothing more than a mistake in my life. Emily tried to take a step closer, her hand outstretched, but before she could reach the car, Michael pressed his foot down on the gas. The tires spun, and the car shot forward, spraying her with a wave of cold, filthy mud from the gutter. It splattered across her dress, her face, even her swollen belly. Emily screamed, stumbling back. Her hands trembled as she wiped the muck from her eyes. Her chest burned with humiliation. Michael didn't even look back. The red glow of his taillights grew smaller, then vanished into the night. Emily collapsed to her knees, the pain in her body nearly unbearable. Her cries echoed through the empty street. Her whole world had crumbled in that moment. Her husband had not only abandoned her but mocked her suffering. The contractions came again, stronger, merciless. She lay back on the cold pavement, her breaths ragged, her mind spinning between despair and sheer survival. Not here. Not like this, she whispered. My babies. Please hold on. She tried to crawl to the sidewalk, but her strength gave out. Her body shivered from the cold, from fear, from the crushing weight of betrayal. Every memory of Michael's love, his promises, his vows, his whispered words, flashed through her mind, and each one burned now, a lie carved into her soul. Still, beneath all the pain, something stirred inside her. A fire. If Michael thought this was the end of her, he was wrong. She would survive. For her babies, she would survive. Her vision blurred, her screams rising again as another contraction hit. Somewhere in the distance, another set of headlights approached. But this time, Emily didn't know if it was salvation or another cruel twist of fate. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give a future to children and women who have been abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Also, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from and how did this story speak to you? The night stretched endlessly as Emily stumbled along the roadside. Her body shook with every contraction, each one sharper than the last. She pressed a trembling hand against her belly, whispering to her unborn children, "Please hold on, my babies, just a little longer. Mama's here." But her voice broke under the weight of pain and despair. The street was empty, cars flashing by. In the distance, their headlights blinding for a second, then gone. None stopped. None cared. She tried to wave, lifting her arm weakly, but the drivers only sped up, unwilling to get involved. Some turned their heads, pretending not to see the pregnant woman in the dirt. Emily fell to her knees, her dress already torn and stained. Sweat mixed with tears as her cries echoed into the night. "Somebody, help me," she sobbed. "Please, anyone." Her body convulsed with another contraction. She clutched her belly, screaming into the darkness. The twins were coming, whether she was ready or not. The sound of another engine approached, louder, smoother, familiar. Emily raised her head, hope flickering in her broken heart. And then she froze. It was Michael's car. The sleek black sedan slowed, the headlights flooding her small figure. For one breathless moment, she thought he came back. He came for me. Her hand lifted toward the car. "Michael!" she cried out. "Please, I can't do this alone. Please help me. Please take me to the hospital." The window rolled down. Clara Reynolds leaned forward from the passenger seat, her lips painted a cruel shade of red, her eyes glittering with amusement. "Michael," Clara said with a mocking laugh. "Look at her, lying in the dirt like an animal. This is the wife you were so ashamed of?" How pathetic. Emily's lips trembled. Clara, please, you're a woman, you understand. Don't do this. Don't. Let him leave me here. But Clara only smirked. You're already nothing, Emily. After tonight, you'll be less than nothing. Michael leaned over, resting his arm casually on the wheel. His face, lit by the dashboard glow, was unreadable at first. Then his lips curled into a smirk colder than the night itself. Emily, he said slowly, his voice dripping with disdain. This is exactly where you belong. On the ground. In the mud. Alone. You've been nothing but dead weight, and now you're just proof that I was right to throw you out. Emily's heart shattered. She screamed, reaching for him. Michael, please, I'm in labor. These are your children. For God's sake, help me. But Michael pressed harder on the gas. The car lurched forward, and a wave of filthy roadside water and mud splashed across Emily's body. It hit her face, her belly, her arms. She choked on it, gasping, as the car sped past. Her own husband had drenched her in dirt while she was giving birth to his children. Her cries turned into screams, not just of pain but of rage and heartbreak. Michael, you'll regret this. One day, you'll regret this. But Michael never looked back. Clara's laughter echoed from the open window as the car disappeared into the distance. Emily collapsed fully onto the dirt. Her body trembled violently. Her dress clung to her skin, wet and filthy. The contractions ripped through her like knives. There was no more time. The first baby was coming. With trembling hands, Emily pushed and screamed, her voice raw and desperate. Her fingers clawed at the earth, gripping handfuls of dirt as she bore down with every ounce of strength left in her body. Minutes stretched like hours. The pain was unbearable, a storm raging through her broken body. She thought she might die right there under the cruel stars. But then, through her tears, she heard it. A cry. Weak, fragile, but real. Emily pulled the tiny, slippery body into her arms, wrapping the baby against her chest. It was a boy. His cries were faint, his breath shallow. No, no, please, Emily sobbed, rocking him gently. Stay with me, my love. Mama's here. Please don't leave me. Before she could even catch her breath, another wave of pain struck her. The second baby was coming. Her body convulsed, forcing her to push again. Her voice grew hoarse as she screamed into the night, her fingernails digging into the dirt. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the second child slipped into the world. A girl. Strong, loud, her cries piercing the darkness. Emily clutched both babies to her chest. Her heart swelled with love, even as her body collapsed. With exhaustion, one child barely breathing, one strong and defiant. Twins born in the dirt, baptized in pain and humiliation. Emily pressed her lips to their tiny foreheads. I swear, she whispered through tears, I will protect you both. I will give you a life. No matter what it costs me, I will never abandon you the way your father abandoned us tonight. The night was silent again, broken only by the weak cries of her newborns. Emily rocked them, tears streaming down her face, not knowing if she'd live to see the sunrise. Emily sat trembling on the roadside, her twins cradled against her chest. Her dress was soaked in sweat, mud, and blood. Her face streaked with tears. Her body was weak, yet her arms held tight to her newborns as if they were the only thing keeping her alive. The boy's breaths came shallow, his tiny chest rising and falling as if every gasp might be his last. The girl cried with strength, her little fists clenched in defiance of the world she was born into. Emily kissed them both desperately. Don't leave me, please, my loves. Don't leave me alone. She rocked them back and forth, her voice breaking. Cars passed in the distance, their lights blinding her for a second before fading. None stopped. Not one driver cared. Her mind spun with thoughts of Michael, his laughter, his cruelty, Clara's mocking smile, the way the car had splashed mud on her as she screamed. Her own husband had left her to die on the side of the road. The shame burned in her chest, but stronger than shame was a vow forming in her heart. You will not win, Michael. You will not erase me. These children will live, and so will I. Her body slumped forward, dizzy, ready to give out. And then footsteps. Ma'am? Oh my God. A man's voice, rough but kind. Emily forced her eyes open. A figure hurried toward her. A tall man in worn jeans and a faded jacket, his hands trembling as he knelt beside her. His face was weathered but gentle, his eyes wide, with shock at the sight before him. Are you okay? No, you're not okay. Oh Lord, did you just give birth? Here. Emily tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Please help my babies. Don't let them die. The man swallowed hard, nodding quickly. I will. Promise. My name's Daniel. Daniel Brooks. I won't leave you like this. He pulled off his jacket and gently wrapped it around the newborns. His hands were clumsy but careful, his face etched with panic and determination. Daniel glanced around, as if expecting someone else to appear. Where's your husband? Where's the father? Emily's eyes filled with fresh tears. She turned her face away. He left me. He tried to kill me. Daniel's jaw clenched, his eyes darkening with anger. But he didn't push. He simply scooped Emily and the twins into his arms, lifting them as if they were weightless despite her exhaustion and pain. Hold on, he said firmly. There's a small clinic a few miles down. You and these babies are not dying tonight. Not on my watch. Emily clutched the newborns tighter, whispering prayers as Daniel carried them to his old pickup truck parked nearby. The seats smelled of oil and dust, but to Emily, it was salvation. The drive blurred. The pain, the blood, the cries. It all felt like a storm inside her fading consciousness. She barely noticed when Daniel pulled into the gravel lot of a small, dimly lit clinic. Doctors and nurses rushed out as Daniel shouted for help. They took the babies first, rushing them inside. Emily reached out weakly as they disappeared down the hallway. My son, please, he's so weak, she gasped. A nurse touched her arm gently. We'll do everything we can, ma'am. You need rest too. Emily collapsed onto a stretcher, her body finally giving up. Hours passed in a haze. When Emily woke, the room was dim, and Daniel sat on a chair beside her bed. His jacket was gone, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes tired but alert. The babies, Emily whispered, panic surging. Daniel leaned forward quickly. They're alive. Your little boy is weak, but the doctors are watching him closely. Your girl, she's strong. She's already crying loud enough to shake the walls. Emily's heart clenched with relief. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. Thank you, for not leaving me there. Daniel shook his head. Anyone with a heart would have stopped. Then his voice grew quieter. But not everyone has a heart, huh? Emily looked away, shame and pain written on her face. As she turned, she caught the sound of hushed voices outside the door. Two nurses spoke in hurried whispers, unaware that Emily could hear. Terrible, really? Mr. Carter told everyone she abandoned him, said she ran off with another man, and left her children behind. What? That poor woman in there? She nearly died bringing them into the world. Doesn't matter. People believe him. He's rich, powerful. And he says his wife was unstable, unfaithful. The story's spreading fast. They think he's the victim. Emily's heart stopped. Her husband hadn't just left her. He had destroyed her reputation. While she lay bleeding in the dirt, he was already rewriting the story, painting himself as the betrayed man, the noble father left behind. Her fists clenched in the sheets. Her body shook with rage and disbelief. Michael, she whispered through gritted teeth, you took everything from me, and now you want to take my name, my honor, my dignity. Daniel leaned closer, concern etched on his face. Emily? What is it? She wiped her tears, her voice raw but steady. He won't win. He thinks I'll stay silent, that I'll disappear. But I'll rise again. For my children. For the truth. He'll regret the night he left me in the dirt. Her eyes blazed with a strength she didn't know she had. And in that moment, Emily Carter, broken, humiliated, left to die, was reborn with a new vow. 5 years passed like a storm, leaving wreckage behind. Emily Carter was no longer the broken woman who once cried in the dirt. With Daniel Brooks's steady support, she had built a life for herself and her twins, Ethan and Grace. The nights of hunger and humiliation had been replaced with discipline, hard work, and quiet dignity. Her small home wasn't much, but it was warm. Every morning began with the sound of Grace's loud voice and Ethan's thoughtful questions. "Mom, is it true stars are like suns, only farther away?" Ethan asked one morning at breakfast, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Emily smiled as she buttered toast. "Yes, sweetheart. They're just too far for us to feel their warmth." Grace rolled her eyes and grabbed a piece of toast. "Ethan, you and your silly science questions. Who cares about stars? I want to be famous right here on Earth." Emily laughed softly. Grace reminded her so much of herself. Strong-willed, fiery, unwilling to be silenced. Ethan, though fragile in health, carried the brilliance of a mind far older than his years. Daniel still visited often. He wasn't rich, but his heart was gold. He fixed things around the house, drove Ethan to the doctor, and made Grace laugh with his corny jokes. Emily owed him more than words could express. "You're stronger than you think," Daniel told her one evening as they stood outside watching the children play. "5 years ago, I thought you wouldn't survive that night. But look at you now. You've built something out of nothing." Emily's eyes softened. "I didn't do it alone. You were there." He shook his head. "I only opened a door. You walked through it." While Emily's life had slowly risen from ashes, Michael Carter's had begun to burn. Michael had married Clara Reynolds just months after abandoning Emily. Their wedding was the talk of the city, lavish and excessive. But money and beauty could not cover the poison beneath. Clara was cunning, manipulative, and controlling. She treated Michael not as a husband but as a puppet. And Michael, obsessed with power and appearances, let her pull the strings. At home, their arguments shook the walls. "You're a fool, Michael," Clara shouted one night, slamming a glass onto the counter. "You've made enemies everywhere. Do you think your empire can last with this much corruption?" Michael glared, pouring himself another drink. "Don't lecture me, Clara. You're no saint. Half the deals I made were because you wanted your name on them." Clara smirked coldly. "And half of your failures are because you're weak. You're nothing without me." Michael clenched his jaw. He hated her words, but deep inside, he feared they were true. His business empire, once admired, was now crumbling under scandals and investigations. Former allies had turned their backs, whispering about fraud and betrayal. Still, Michael clung to his arrogance. He told himself he was untouchable. Emily's world and Michael's were destined to collide again. One afternoon, Emily was called into a meeting at a small cafe. She had been running a modest clothing shop with the help of Daniel and some local women. They sewed garments by hand, simple but beautiful, made with love. The benefactor who had noticed her work was Mr. Jonathan Reed, a wealthy businessman known for investing in small ventures with potential. "Mrs. Carter," he said warmly, shaking her hand, "I've been observing your shop. You've built something remarkable. Not just clothing, but a story. Strength, resilience, dignity. People want that." Emily blinked, unsure how to respond. I only wanted to provide for my children. And for the women who work with me, they need a chance." Jonathan smiled. "Exactly. You turned tragedy into enterprise. I'd like to invest. I want to expand your brand, make it known across the city. Will you let me help you rise?" Emily's throat tightened. Tears filled her eyes. For years, she had fought just to survive. Now, someone was offering her a chance to thrive. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, Jonathan replied with a kind smile. Your story deserves to be heard. Emily finally nodded. Yes, I'll do it. For my children. Weeks later, Emily attended her first major business event under Jonathan's sponsorship. The hall was glittering, filled with people of wealth and power. Emily wore a simple but elegant dress from her own line. Grace had chosen the color, insisting, Mama, you have to shine brighter than them. All. As Emily stepped into the room, heads turned. Whispers filled the air. Some recognized her. Some didn't. But all saw her dignity, her grace, her quiet strength. And among the crowd, Michael Carter froze. He saw her, the wife he had left to die in the dirt, the woman he had painted as unstable and shameful. She stood radiant, alive, respected. His glass nearly slipped from his hand. Sweat prickled his forehead. Panic surged in his chest. If Emily was back, successful, powerful, then his lies were at risk of unraveling. Michael's breath caught in his throat. His eyes darted across the crowded room, half hoping, half dreading that he had imagined it. But no, there she was, Emily Carter. Not the broken, mud-stained woman he had abandoned 5 years ago, but a woman reborn. Her posture was straight, her face glowing with quiet confidence. She wasn't flaunting herself like Clara often did. No, her strength was softer, calmer, but undeniable. And people noticed. Michael's pulse quickened. What if someone asked questions? What if Emily spoke? What if she told the truth? Michael! He jumped at the sound of Clara's sharp voice beside him. She followed his gaze, her painted lips curling into a sly smile. Well, Clara murmured. Isn't that your little ghost? Michael swallowed hard. Don't start, Clara. Clara chuckled. Relax. She looks quite alive to me. Better than I expected, honestly. She was supposed to vanish, wasn't she? That was the story you told. Michael's jaw tightened. She's nothing. Just a charity case who got lucky. Clara leaned closer, her perfume thick and suffocating. Nothing? The way you're sweating says otherwise. Michael turned sharply toward the bar, gulping down his drink. But his eyes betrayed him, sliding back to Emily again and again. Emily felt the weight of stares, but she held her head high. She wasn't here for Michael. She was here for her children, for her future, for the women she had lifted with her business. Still, the sight of him, smug as ever, with Clara clinging to his arm, sent a storm through her chest. Grace's words echoed in her memory. Mama, one day you'll stand taller than them. One day, they'll see. That day was coming. Jonathan Reed approached her with a warm smile. Emily, allow me to introduce you to some investors. Emily smiled back, though her eyes flickered toward Michael. She caught the panic in his face, and, for a moment, felt stronger. He feared her now. That was enough. Later that evening, Michael cornered Clara in a quiet hallway. His mask of confidence had cracked. She can't be here, he hissed. She'll ruin everything. If she tells them what happened. Clara raised an eyebrow. And who do you think they'll believe? The wealthy businessman or the woman he abandoned? Michael, you've already rewritten history. Everyone thinks she ran away. You made sure of that. Michael's hands trembled. But she looks successful. Someone invested in her. What if they listen? Clara's smirk faded into something colder. Then we make sure they don't. Michael stared at her. What do you mean? Clara leaned in, her voice like ice. If she rises, you fall. And I won't let your empire crumble. Because of some woman crawling out of the gutter. We'll bury her again. This time so deep she won't crawl back. Michael's stomach turned, but Clara's words held him like chains. He knew she meant it. Clara always meant what she said. Meanwhile, Emily slipped out onto the balcony for air. The night sky was clear, the city lights glowing like stars. She breathed deeply, trying to steady herself. Daniel's voice echoed in her memory. You've built something out of nothing. Don't be afraid to Stand in the light. She placed a hand on her heart. I'm not afraid anymore, she whispered. But inside the hall, Clara was already spreading her poison. She whispered to investors, dropped hints of scandal, questioned Emily's past. Every word was a thread in a new web meant to strangle Emily's rising reputation. And Michael watched silently, torn between fear and guilt, as Clara wove her trap. By the end of the night, the tension was thick enough to choke. Emily could feel it, though she couldn't yet see the full shape of it. She only knew one thing. Her return had unsettled Michael and Clara, and that was just the beginning. The gala hall shimmered with chandeliers, the floor alive with the shuffle of designer shoes and the clink of crystal glasses. Laughter rang through the air, but underneath it was a tension, restlessness, as though everyone was waiting for something to happen. Emily Carter stood near the edge of the room, her simple yet elegant gown making her look effortlessly radiant. She wasn't dripping in jewels like the others, but her grace outshone the diamonds. Beside her, Jonathan Reed greeted guests, occasionally motioning for Emily to join him in introductions. Daniel lingered in the background, protective as ever. He didn't belong in such a lavish setting. His old jacket seemed out of place among tuxedos, but he refused to leave Emily unguarded. Breathe, Daniel whispered as he passed her a glass of water. You've survived worse than this. Emily smiled faintly, steadying herself. I know, but tonight feels important, like the past 5 years are leading to this moment. She was right. Across the room, Michael Carter and Clara Reynolds made their entrance. Michael's suit was sharp, but his eyes were tired, his face pale from too many sleepless nights and too much whiskey. Clara, dazzling in a glittering gown, clung to his arm like a queen to her pawn. When they entered, conversations shifted. Whispers followed them. Everyone knew Michael. Carter's empire was faltering. The scandals, the lawsuits, the rumors, it was only a matter of time before the empire he built on lies collapsed. Clara's eyes darted across the room until they landed on Emily. A slow, venomous smile spread across her lips. Michael, she purred. Look who's here. The ghost returns again. Michael's jaw tightened. He didn't reply, but Clara could feel his pulse quicken beneath her grip. As the evening unfolded, the tension mounted. Emily spoke with investors, her story winning hearts without her even trying. Jonathan introduced her as a woman of strength and vision, and the crowd responded warmly. Michael watched from afar, his fists clenched. Clara's smile grew tighter, her jealousy burning. Emily wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, and people were noticing. This ends tonight, Clara hissed under her breath. She will not steal the stage from us. The moment came when the host announced a toast, giving guests the floor for speeches. Clara seized it. She stepped forward gracefully, glass in hand, her smile wide but sharp as a blade. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice carrying across the hall. What a beautiful evening. We gather here to celebrate resilience and success. And speaking of resilience, her eyes locked on Emily. We have among us a woman with quite a story. Emily felt the room shift. Every eye turned toward her. Clara's smile widened. Our dear Emily Carter. Yes, some of you may not know, but she was once the wife of Michael Carter. She, how should I put this, chose to leave him. She ran away in the middle of the night, abandoning her husband and, most shockingly, her children. Gasps rippled through the hall. Michael remained silent, letting Clara play her game. Clara pressed on, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. Of course, Michael, being the noble man he is, never spoke poorly of her. He raised their children alone while she, Clara tilted her head, feigning pity, found comfort elsewhere. But tonight, she arrives in this hall as though none of that ever happened. Tell me, Emily, how does one rise from such disgrace? The room buzzed with whispers. Some looked at Emily with doubt, others with curiosity. Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. She's lying, he muttered. ready to step forward. But Emily raised a hand, her calm steadying him. Emily stood slowly, her face serene. She didn't shout. She didn't tremble. She simply spoke. "Clara, your words are sharp, but they are not the truth." The room quieted. All eyes were on Emily now. "You say I abandoned my children," Emily continued, her voice clear and unwavering. "But the truth is, my husband abandoned me. He left me in labor, on the side of the road, drenched in mud, screaming for help. He drove past me with you in his car, Clara. He splashed dirt across my face, while I brought his children into the world alone." Gasps filled the air. People turned toward Michael, whose face drained of color. Clara laughed lightly. "How convenient. And where is your proof? Emily? Do you expect us to take your word over his?" Emily nodded slowly. "I expected that question. And I came prepared." She motioned toward the side of the room. A door opened. Daniel stepped forward, followed by 2 doctors from the small clinic where Emily had given birth. They carried files, records, testimonies. "This man," Emily said, her voice breaking slightly with emotion, "found me in the dirt that night. He carried me and my babies to a clinic when no one else would stop. These doctors treated me and my newborn twins. They can testify that I was abandoned, not by choice, but by cruelty." The doctors nodded firmly. One held up a signed statement. The other confirmed, "She nearly died. That night, we all remember. She gave birth in the dirt." The crowd murmured, shock spreading like wildfire. Clara's smile faltered, but she forced a laugh. "Doctors can be paid. Witnesses can lie." Emily inhaled deeply. "Then perhaps you'll listen to Jonathan Reed." Jonathan, the wealthy benefactor, stepped forward. His voice was calm, but his words cut deep. "Michael Carter," he said, turning to face him. "Do you remember me? You should. You once begged for my investment. I trusted you with millions. But tonight I learned the truth that while you pretended to be a victim, you left your wife to die. You lied to everyone, including me." Michael's face twisted with panic. "Jonathan, you don't understand." Jonathan raised a hand, silencing him. "No, I understand perfectly. I invested in a coward. But now I will invest in a survivor." Emily's story is one of strength, not deceit. "As of tonight, every tie I had with you is severed. My future support belongs to her." The hall erupted. Some applauded. Some whispered in disbelief. But all eyes had turned. The tide had shifted. Michael stumbled back, sweat dripping down his temples. "Please, Jonathan, you can't." But Clara pulled her arm away from him, her eyes glittering with cruel delight. "You see, Michael?" she whispered loudly enough for those near to hear. "This is what I always knew would happen. You're weak, pathetic. Did you think I ever loved you? No, I loved your money, and now it's gone." Michael's heart dropped. "Clara, don't." But Clara only laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. "I was waiting for this day, to watch you fall. And now, you're nothing, less than nothing." She turned her back on him, walking away with a smile as the crowd gasped at her betrayal. Michael staggered, his empire crumbling in a single night. His lies exposed, his wealth evaporating, and now his mistress gone. He was alone. Emily stood tall, her children watching from the side of the room where Daniel kept them safe. Grace's eyes glowed with pride. Ethan's smile was faint but bright. Emily didn't gloat. She didn't strike Michael while he was down. She simply walked toward her children, her voice calm and steady. "I told you," she whispered to herself. "Truth always wins." She took Ethan's hand in one, Grace's in the other. Together they walked across the hall, past Michael, who stood frozen, humiliated, broken. She didn't look at him. She didn't need to. Her dignity was the weapon, her survival the victory. As the doors opened and Emily stepped into the night with her twins, the moral of her story hung heavy in the air. Cruelty may win for a moment, but truth and resilience outlast betrayal. Michael Carter, once powerful and untouchable, now stood in ruins. And Emily Carter, once abandoned in the dirt, walked away triumphant, with her children, her dignity and her destiny intact.
The flowers in my hands shook, not from the cold autumn wind cutting through the cemetery, but from the note I had just found tucked inside the white roses meant for my sister's casket. I'm still alive, trust no one. The handwriting was unmistakable. Simone's loopy S's, the way she crossed her T's too high. This was her writing. But Simone was dead. She had been dead for 3 days. I had identified her body at the morgue. I had planned this funeral. I had cried myself sick every night since the police knocked on my door to tell me about the car accident. My legs felt weak. The cemetery spun around me. Black clothes, sad faces, whispered prayers. Everything blurred except for those 5 words written in blue ink on cream paper. Naomi? Baby, are you okay? Derek's hand touched my shoulder. My husband's voice sounded far away, like he was speaking through water. You look pale. Maybe you should sit down. I turned to look at him. Derek. My husband of 5 years. His dark eyes showed concern. His hand rubbed my back in small circles the way he always did when I was upset. But something felt wrong. Something in the way he looked at me, or maybe in the way he didn't quite meet my eyes. I'm fine, I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Hello. It's hard. I know. He pulled me closer. But I'm here. We'll get through this together. I nodded against his chest, but my mind was racing. The note was still clutched in my hand, hidden from view. I couldn't show it to anyone. Trust no one, Simone had written. Did that include Derek? Why would my sister fake her own death? And if she was alive, where was she? The pastor was talking about eternal rest and heavenly peace. People were crying. My mother stood on the other side of the casket, her face hidden behind a black veil. She had aged 10 years in 3 days. My father held her up, his face like stone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run through the cemetery shouting that this was all wrong, that Simone wasn't in that casket, that this was some kind of terrible mistake or trick. But trust no one echoed in my head. If Simone had faked her death, she must have had a good reason. A dangerous reason. Would you like to say a few words? The pastor asked me gently. I shook my head. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I would either scream the truth or vomit from the fear rising in my throat. Derek squeezed my hand. It's okay. You don't have to. But I did have to do something. I had to find my sister. I had to understand why she had done this. And I had to figure out who I couldn't trust. The funeral ended. People hugged me and said things that didn't matter. I smiled and nodded and thanked them for coming. All the while, the note burned in my closed fist like a hot coal. That night, lying in bed next to Derek, I pretended to sleep. My mind wouldn't stop working. Simone had placed that note in the flowers. Or someone had done it for her. That meant she knew I would be the one to put flowers on the casket. She had planned this. Every detail. What had happened in the days before her supposed death? I tried to remember our last conversation. She had called me 4 days ago on Tuesday afternoon. I had been at work, distracted by a difficult client. The conversation had been brief. Hey sis, can we talk? It's important. Can it wait until this weekend? I'm swamped. Pause. Sure. Yeah, I can wait. Love you, Naomi. Love you too. That was it. Our last conversation. She had sounded worried about something, but I had been too busy to notice. Too busy to care. And now she was either dead or hiding, and I didn't know which was worse. Derek shifted beside me. His breathing was deep and steady. He was asleep. Or pretending to be, just like me. I thought about the note again. Trust no one. Was Derek involved in whatever had made Simone fake her death? The thought felt like betrayal. Derek loved me. He had been nothing but supportive since Simone's death. He had made all the phone calls, handled all the arrangements, held me while I cried. But then again, Simone had trusted me enough to send that note. And she had said to trust no one. Not even my husband. I waited until Derek's breathing became a soft snore. Then I slowly slipped out of bed and went to the bathroom. I locked the door and pulled out the note again, reading it under the harsh light. The paper was expensive, the kind Simone liked to use for her personal correspondence. I turned it over. On the back, so faint I had almost missed it, was a single word written in pencil, journal. My heart started pounding. Simone kept a journal. She had since we were teenagers. She wrote in it every night before bed, recording her thoughts and dreams and secrets. Where would she keep it? Her apartment. The police had sealed it after the accident, but they would release it soon for the family to clear out. I had to get into that apartment. I had to find that journal. Whatever Simone wanted me to know, whatever had scared her enough to fake her own death, it would be in those pages. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was tired, my eyes red from crying. But underneath the grief, something else was growing. Determination, fear, and a cold, hard anger that I didn't fully understand yet. Simone was alive. She was in hiding. And someone, somewhere, had made her so afraid that death seemed like the better option. I was going to find out who. And I was going to make them pay. The key to Simone's apartment was on my keyring. She had given it to me years ago, back when we both lived in the city and would crash at each other's places on late nights. I had never returned it, and now I was grateful. It was 2 a.m. Derek was asleep. I had told him I couldn't sleep and was going for a drive. He had mumbled something and rolled over. Either he didn't care or he was too tired to question me. The streets were empty. My car's headlights cut through the darkness as I drove across town to Simone's building. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. Every shadow looked threatening. Every car behind me could be following me. Trust no one. The words played on repeat in my head. Simone's building was a nice converted warehouse in the Arts District. She had moved here 2 years ago, after her interior design business started doing well. The door to the building required a code, but I knew it. I punched it in and slipped inside. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt like it took forever. My reflection in the metal doors looked back at me, distorted and strange. I didn't recognize myself. Simone's apartment door had yellow police tape across it, but it wasn't sealed anymore. The investigation into her accident had been straightforward. Single car crash on a rainy night, car went off a bridge into the river. Body recovered the next morning. No signs of foul play. Just a tragic accident. Except it wasn't an accident. Simone was alive. I ducked under the tape and unlocked the door. The apartment smelled stale, like no one had opened a window in days. I used my phone's flashlight instead of turning on the lights. I didn't want anyone to know I was here. The apartment looked exactly as I remembered it. Simone's colorful taste was everywhere. Bright pillows, artistic photographs on the walls, plants in every corner. But now it all looked sad, abandoned. A half-empty coffee cup sat on the counter. A magazine lay open on the couch. I started in her bedroom. The journal would be there, in the nightstand where she always kept it. I opened the drawer and found it immediately. A leather-bound book, burgundy in color, with Simone's initials embossed on the cover. My hands trembled as I opened it. The last entry was dated 4 days ago. The day she had called me. I can't believe what I found out. I need to tell Naomi, but I don't know how. How do you tell your sister that her husband is not who she thinks he is? That he's been lying to her? That he's planning something terrible? I have proof now. Photos. Documents. But I'm scared. Derek saw me yesterday outside his office. He knows I know. I need to be careful. I need to protect Naomi. My blood ran cold. Derek. My husband. What had he done? What was he planning? I flipped back through the pages. The entries from the previous weeks told a story I didn't want to believe. 2 weeks ago, saw Derek today at a coffee shop downtown. He wasn't alone. He was with a woman. They were holding hands. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to take a picture, but my phone was dead. I need to find out who she is. 10 days ago, I followed Derek to her apartment. Her name is Candace. I looked her up. She works at his company. His assistant. How classic. How predictable. But poor Naomi. She has no idea. I need more proof before I tell her. She won't believe me otherwise. 1 week ago, it's worse than an affair. I've been digging into Derek's finances. He's been stealing from Naomi's trust fund. Small amounts at first, but it's adding up. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, funneled into offshore accounts. He has access because he's her husband. She trusted him with everything. And he's been robbing her blind. 5 days ago, I broke into Derek's office. I know it was wrong, but I had to see for myself. I found documents. Plans. He and Candace are planning to have Naomi declared mentally incompetent. They have a doctor lined up to say she's having a breakdown. Once they get power of attorney, they'll take everything. The trust. The house. All of it. Then they'll disappear. I have to stop them. I have to protect my sister. The last entry, Derek confronted me today. He grabbed my arm outside my building. Told me to mind my own business. Said if I told Naomi anything, I would regret it. His eyes were cold. I've never seen him like that. I'm scared. I need to think. I need a plan. If something happens to me, I've left clues for Naomi. She's smart. She'll figure it out. And she needs to know the truth before it's too late. I dropped the journal. My whole body was shaking. Derek. The man I had loved for 5 years. The man I had married, promised my life to. He had been stealing from me, cheating on me, planning to destroy me. And Simone had tried to protect me. She had faked her death to buy time, to gather evidence, to keep Derek from hurting her before she could expose him. I picked up the journal again and kept reading. There were names, addresses, account numbers. Simone had done her homework. She had built a case against Derek piece by piece. I took photos of every page with my phone. Then I searched the rest of the apartment. Under Simone's bed, I found a shoebox. Inside were printed photographs. Derek and Candace together, kissing outside a restaurant, getting into a car together, walking into a hotel. The timestamps on the photos went back 6 months. There were also printed bank statements. My trust fund accounts with highlighted withdrawals. Thousands of dollars at a time, always with Derek's authorization code. I felt sick. How had I not noticed? How had I been so blind? But I knew the answer. I had trusted Derek. I had loved him. I had believed every word he said. And he had used that trust to steal from me and plan my destruction. I gathered everything. The journal, the photos, the statements. I put them in my bag and left the apartment, making sure everything looked undisturbed. In my car, I sat in the darkness and cried. Not the gentle tears of grief, but angry, bitter sobs that came from somewhere deep inside me. I cried for my sister, in hiding and afraid. I cried for myself, betrayed and fooled. I cried for the life I thought I had, which had all been a lie. When the tears stopped, something else took their place. Something cold and hard and focused. Derek had made a mistake. He had underestimated Simone. And he had definitely underestimated me. I was going to find my sister. I was going to get justice. And Derek was going to pay for every lie, every theft, every moment of fear he had caused. I started the car and drove home. Derek was still asleep when I slipped back into bed. He shifted and put his arm around me, pulling me close. "Where did you go?" he mumbled, half asleep. "Just for a drive," I whispered. "Couldn't sleep." "Love you," he said, already drifting off again. I didn't answer. I lay there in the darkness, his arm heavy across my body, and I planned. Every detail. Every move. He had wanted to play games. Fine. I would play. But this time I was going to win. The coffee shop was called Brewster's. According to Simone's journal, this was where she had first seen Derek with Candace. It was a small place in a neighborhood across town, far from where Derek worked and where we lived. Far from anywhere I would normally go. The perfect place for a secret meeting. I sat in my car across the street, sunglasses on, baseball cap pulled low. It was Tuesday morning, exactly 1 week after Simone's funeral. Derek thought I was at home, grieving. He had kissed my forehead before leaving for work, told me to rest, promised to be home for dinner. Liar. I had started watching him 3 days ago after reading the journal. Learning his patterns. His routine had changed in small ways I hadn't noticed before. Tuesday and Thursday mornings he left 30 minutes early. Wednesday afternoons he came home 2 hours late. The signs had always been there. I just hadn't been looking. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay today. Love you." I wanted to throw the phone across the car. Instead I texted back. "Thanks. Love you too." The lies came easier now. Maybe I had learned from the best. At 8:15, Derek's car pulled into the parking lot. My heart started pounding. This was it. Proof. I needed to see it with my own eyes, not just trust Simone's words or old photographs. He got out of the car looking good. Hairstyled, wearing the blue shirt I had bought him for his birthday. He had taken care with his appearance today. For her. He went inside. I waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I was starting to think maybe I was wrong, maybe Simone had been mistaken, maybe this was all some terrible misunderstanding. Then she arrived. Candace was beautiful. Tall, slim, with long dark hair and perfect skin. She wore a professional dress and heels. She looked confident, successful. Nothing like the horrible person I had imagined. She went inside. I could see them through the window. Derek stood when she entered. They hugged. It lasted too long to be professional. His hand lingered on her waist. They sat at a corner table. I took out my phone and started recording. The angle wasn't perfect, but I could see them clearly enough. They talked. They laughed. Derek reached across the table and took her hand. She smiled at him the way I used to smile at him. The way a woman smiles at a man she loves. Then he leaned forward and kissed her. It wasn't a quick kiss. It wasn't an accident. It was a real kiss, full of feeling and familiarity. The kind of kiss that comes from practice. from routine, from a relationship that had been going on for months. I recorded it all. My hands were steady even though my heart was breaking. I had known this was coming. I had read about it in the journal. But seeing it was different. Seeing it made it real. They pulled apart. Both smiling. Happy. They had no idea their world was about to come crashing down. I took photos too. Different angles. Clear shots of their faces. Evidence that couldn't be denied. They stayed for 20 minutes. Holding hands. Talking quietly. Planning their future probably. A future that included my money and my destruction. When Derek left, he kissed her one more time. Then he got in his car and drove toward his office. Just another day at work. Just another lie in a life built on lies. Candace stayed behind. She ordered another coffee and pulled out her laptop. I watched her through the window, this woman who was sleeping with my husband, who was helping him steal from me, who was planning to ruin my life. She looked normal. Happy even. She had no idea that Simone had discovered their plan. No idea that I knew everything. No idea that her perfect scheme was about to fall apart. I wanted to march inside and confront her. I wanted to throw my coffee in her face, scream at her, tell her exactly what I thought of her. But that wasn't the plan. That wouldn't help Simone or get us justice. Instead, I stayed in my car and downloaded all the photos and videos to my computer. I created a new folder labeled Evidence and secured it with a password. Then I backed everything up to a cloud drive that Derek didn't know existed. My phone buzzed again. Derek, meeting running late. Might not make dinner. Sorry. Of course. More lies. Maybe he was with her again. Maybe they were laughing about how stupid I was, how easy to fool. I texted back, no problem. I understand. Work is important. Let him think I was still the trusting wife. Let him think he was safe. I drove home slowly, my mind working. The affair was confirmed. Check. Now I needed to prove the financial fraud. Simone's documents were good, but I needed more. I needed current account statements. I needed to see exactly how much he had stolen and where the money had gone. At home, I went to Derek's office. He kept it locked, but I knew where he hid the key. Men are predictable like that. They think they're so clever, but they always hide important things in obvious places. The key was in his sock drawer, taped under the bottom. His office was neat, organized. Filing cabinets lined one wall. His desk held 2 monitors and a laptop. Everything password protected, I was sure. But I had watched him type his passwords 100 times. He used the same one for everything. Naomi 2019. The year we got married. Using my name to protect his theft. That was almost funny. I logged into his laptop. Took 3 tries, but I got in. Then I started searching. Financial files. Bank statements. Investment accounts. What I found was worse than I expected. He hadn't just stolen hundreds of thousands. He had taken almost $2 million from my trust fund over 3 years. Small amounts at first, then bigger and bigger as he got bolder. The money had gone to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Accounts in both his and Candace's names. They were already building their new life together, funded by my money. I found emails too. Messages between Derek and Candace planning every detail. How they would have me declared incompetent. Which doctor they had bribed. How they would take power of attorney. How they would liquidate my remaining assets and disappear. One email from Candace stood out. What about the sister? She's been asking questions. Derek's response, don't worry. I took care of it. She won't be a problem anymore. My stomach turned. Took care of it. The car accident. Had Derek somehow caused it? Had he tried to kill Simone? I printed everything. Pages and pages of evidence. Then I cleared the printer history and the computer logs. I put everything back exactly as I found it and locked the office. In my bedroom, I hid the printed documents with Simone's journal and photos. My evidence file was growing. The case against Derek and Candace was becoming stronger. But I still needed to find Simone. I needed to know she was safe. I needed her help to finish this. That night, Derek came home late. He smelled like perfume. Candace's perfume, I realized. I had smelled it on him before but thought it was from passing a coworker in the hall. How many other signs had I missed? Sorry I'm late, he said, kissing my cheek. The meeting went longer than expected. It's okay, I said. I made pasta. It's in the fridge if you're hungry. You're the best. He smiled at me. That same smile that used to make my heart flutter. Now it just made me feel cold inside. We ate together in silence. He talked about work, making up stories about meetings that never happened. I nodded and smiled and pretended to believe him. After dinner, I did the dishes while he watched television. A normal evening in a normal marriage. Except everything was a lie. In bed that night, he reached for me. I forced myself not to pull away. I let him hold me, kiss me, touch me. I pretended everything was fine. I made the sounds he expected to hear. The whole time I thought about Simone's journal, about the photos, about Candace, about the stolen money, about revenge. Derek fell asleep quickly, satisfied and unsuspecting. I lay awake beside him, planning my next move. Somewhere out there, my sister was hiding, waiting for me to find her, trusting me to finish what she started. I wouldn't let her down. The text came 3 days later. Unknown number. Just an address and a time. Storage Unit 247, Riverside Storage, 3 p.m. today. Come alone. My heart jumped. This had to be from Simone. No one else knew I was investigating. No one else would contact me like this. I waited until Derek left for work. He had been extra attentive lately, bringing me coffee in bed, asking how I was feeling, suggesting we take a vacation to help me heal from losing Simone. Every kindness felt like another knife in my back. I think I'll go see Mom today, I told him. She's having a hard time. That's good, he said, kissing my forehead. Tell her I'm thinking of her. Love you. Love you too, I said automatically. The words meant nothing anymore. As soon as he left, I got ready. I wore dark jeans and a black jacket. I pulled my hair into a ponytail and put on sunglasses. I felt like I was preparing for a mission, which maybe I was. The drive to Riverside Storage took 40 minutes. The facility was on the edge of town, near the industrial district. Rows of identical orange storage units stretched in every direction. Security cameras dotted the perimeter. I found Unit 247 in the back corner. The lock was a combination type. I tried Simone's birthday. Nothing. Then my birthday. The lock clicked open. Inside, the small unit was packed with boxes. Cardboard boxes, all labeled in Simone's handwriting. Evidence. Financial records. Photos. Plans. I stood there staring, overwhelmed. Simone had been busy. She had built an entire case here, hidden away where no one would find it. I started with the box labeled, Evidence. Inside were surveillance photos I hadn't seen before. Derek and Candace together at various locations. Restaurants. Hotels. Her apartment. His car. Months and months of documentation. But there was more. Photos of Derek meeting with a man I didn't recognize. Papers changing hands. More photos of the same man meeting with a woman in a white coat. Doctor's badge visible. The doctor who would declare me incompetent. Under the photos were financial records. Not just my accounts but Derek's. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. He had been living beyond our means for years, spending money we didn't have. My trust fund had been propping up his lifestyle while he pretended to be a successful executive. The next box held printed emails. Hundreds of them. Derek and Candace's entire relationship documented in their own words. Love letters. Plans. Arguments. And through it all, the constant theme, getting my money and getting rid of me. One email made me stop breathing. The sister is becoming a real problem. She's been following me. She broke into my office. We need to do something permanent. Candace's response, are you sure? That's a big step. Derek, she won't stop. She'll ruin everything. I know someone who can make it look like an accident. The car crash. He had actually done it. Derek had tried to kill my sister. I sat down on the concrete floor, my legs shaking. My husband was not just a thief and a cheater. He was a would-be murderer. What else was he capable of? If he had succeeded with Simone, would I have been next? My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. There's a phone in the box labeled Contact. Use it. I found the box and pulled out a cheap burner phone. It was already on. There was one contact saved, S. My finger hovered over the call button. Once I made this call, there would be no going back. This would confirm that Simone was alive, that she was in hiding, that everything in these boxes was real. I pressed call. It rang twice. Then I heard the voice I thought I would never hear again. Naomi? Simone. My voice broke. Oh my God, Simone. I'm sorry. She was crying too. I'm so sorry I put you through this. But I didn't have a choice. I know. I read your journal. I've seen everything. He tried to kill you. I know. The car crash wasn't an accident. Someone ran me off the road. I got out before the car went into the water. I had a friend helping me, someone Derek doesn't know about. We staged the whole thing. The body they recovered was a Jane Doe from the morgue, similar build and age. My friend works there. She falsified the records. That's insane. That's illegal. So is attempted murder. So is stealing $2 million. So is planning to have you declared mentally incompetent and taking everything you own. Derek doesn't play by the rules, so neither can we. She was right. But hearing it out loud made it real in a way that scared me. Where are you? I asked. Somewhere safe. I can't tell you yet. If Derek gets suspicious, if he figures out I'm alive, he'll come after me again. And next time I might not be so lucky. What do we do now? We take him down. You, me, and all this evidence. But we have to be careful. We need more than what's in these boxes. We need him to confess. We need recordings of him admitting what he's done. How? You wear a wire. You get him talking. Make him think you're falling apart, that you're vulnerable. Men like Derek, they get cocky when they think they're winning. He'll make mistakes. I can do that. I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded. I can play the part. I know you can. You're stronger than you think, sis. You always have been. We talked for another hour. Simone explained the plan in detail. She had already contacted a lawyer who specialized in fraud cases. She had copies of everything stored in multiple locations. She had thought of every angle. There's something else, Simone said. Derek has been looking at my apartment. He's been inside twice since the funeral. He's searching for something. Probably my journal or any evidence I might have left behind. You need to be careful. If he thinks you know anything, you could be in danger. I'll be careful. Promise me. Promise me you won't confront him until we're ready. Promise me you won't do anything stupid. I promise. After we hung up, I sat in the storage unit for a long time. My sister was alive. She was safe. And together we were going to bring Derek down. I took photos of everything in the boxes with my phone. Then I carefully repacked everything and locked the unit behind me. Driving home, I felt different. Stronger. Focused. Derek had underestimated both of us. He thought Simone was dead. He thought I was a grieving, clueless wife. He had no idea what was coming. That evening, Derek came home with flowers. Roses, my favorite. I thought you could use these, he said, smiling. I know it's been a hard week. They're beautiful, I said, taking them. Thank you. I put them in a vase and made dinner. We ate together, talking about nothing important. He told me about his day at work. More lies. I smiled and nodded and pretended to believe every word. Later, in bed, I turned to face him in the darkness. Derek. Yeah. I'm really glad I have you. I don't know what I would do without you. He pulled me closer. You'll never have to find out. I'm not going anywhere. Another lie. But he was right about one thing. After we were done with him, he wasn't going anywhere except prison. I fell asleep thinking about justice. About truth. About the moment when Derek's world would fall apart and he would realize he had lost everything. That moment was coming. We met in person 2 days later, at a cabin 3 hours outside the city. Simone had rented it under a fake name, paying cash. No paper trail. No way for Derek to find her. I had told Derek I was visiting my mother again. He had been supportive, even offering to come with me. I had insisted I needed to go alone, that my mother needed just me right now. Whatever you need, he had said. Take your time. If only he knew. The cabin was deep in the woods, down a dirt road that wasn't on any map. I almost missed the turnoff 3 times. When I finally found it, Simone was waiting on the porch. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, dyed a darker shade. She wore glasses I had never seen before. But when she smiled, she was still my sister. We ran to each other and held on tight, both crying. She was really alive. Solid and warm in here. I missed you so much, I sobbed into her shoulder. I thought you were gone. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was crying too, her whole body shaking. I hated putting you through that. But I had to keep you safe. We went inside and sat at the small kitchen table. Simone made coffee and we talked for hours. She told me everything from the beginning. It started 6 months ago, she said. I was meeting you for lunch downtown, remember? I was early, so I stopped at a coffee shop. And I saw him. Derek. With her. Holding hands. Kissing. I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe I was wrong, maybe it was someone who looked like him. But it was definitely him. Why didn't you tell me then? I wanted to. But I know how much you love him. I knew you wouldn't believe me without proof. So I decided to get proof. I followed them a few times. Got photos. I was going to show you everything. But then you found out about the money. She nodded. I was looking into Candace, trying to find out who she was. And I found her bank statements. Don't ask me how, I have a friend who's good with computers. The account had huge deposits. Way more than an assistant makes. I traced the money back to offshore accounts. And those accounts were being funded by your trust. Derek's been stealing from me for 3 years. Not just stealing. Embezzling. It's calculated, systematic. He's been careful, moving small amounts at first, then getting bolder. He probably thought you'd never notice. And you didn't because you trusted him. I was an idiot. No. Simone grabbed my hand. You were in love. You trusted your husband. That's not being an idiot. That's being a good wife. He's the one who betrayed that trust. He tried to kill you. Yes. Her voice got quiet. When I confronted him about what I knew, he acted surprised. Said it was all a misunderstanding. But his eyes were cold. That. I knew then that he was dangerous. I started being careful. Taking different routes home. Checking my car for tampering. But I wasn't careful enough. The accident. I was driving home from your house, remember? That night I came over for dinner? It was raining. I was on the bridge. A car came up behind me fast, no headlights. It rammed me from behind. I lost control. The car went through the railing into the water. I felt sick. How did you escape? Pure luck. The car hit the water at an angle. I got the door open before it sank. I swam to the bank and hid in the trees. I called my friend, the one who works at the coroner's office. She picked me up and we went straight to the morgue. And the body? A Jane Doe who had come in that morning. Overdose victim, no ID, no one looking for her. Similar age and build. My friends swapped the dental records and fingerprints. It's not as hard as you'd think if you know what you're doing and have access to the system. That's crazy. You could go to jail. Derek tried to murder me. He's planning to destroy you. I think a little identity fraud is worth it if it means we can stop him. She was right. But the reality of what we were doing was starting to sink in. We were breaking laws. We were faking deaths. We were playing a dangerous game with a dangerous man. So what now? I asked. How do we finish this? Simone pulled out a folder. Inside were documents, photos, and a small black device. This is a recording device, she said, holding up what looked like a pen. You wear it when you're with Derek. You get him to confess to the affair, the embezzlement, trying to kill me. Everything. He'll never admit to that. He will if you play it right. Make him think you're falling apart. That you're so broken by my death that you're not thinking straight. Make him think you're vulnerable, easy to manipulate. Men like Derek, they can't resist twisting the knife when they think they're winning. He'll get cocky. He'll make mistakes. What if he figures out what I'm doing? He won't. You're a good actress. You've been fooling him for days already, haven't you? She was right. I had been pretending everything was normal and Derek had no idea. There's something else, Simone said. We have a lawyer. Her name is Patricia Green. She's a former prosecutor who now handles high-profile fraud cases. I've been working with her for weeks, preparing the case. She needs the recordings to make it solid. When? Soon. We need to move fast. Derek and Candace are planning to make their move within the next month. They're going to have you declared incompetent, take power of attorney, and liquidate your assets. Once they do that, it'll be much harder to get the money back. A month? I have to pretend for a whole month. You can do this, Naomi. I know you can. You're one of the strongest people I know. I wished I felt strong. Right now I just felt scared and angry and overwhelmed. But looking at my sister, alive and safe, I knew I had to try. For her. For me. For every woman who had ever been betrayed by someone they trusted. Okay, I said. I'll do it. Tell me exactly what I need to do. We spent the rest of the day planning. Simone showed me how to use the recording device, how to hide it, how to trigger it without being obvious. She coached me on what to say, how to act, what triggers would make Derek start talking. The key is to make him feel superior, she explained. Make him think he's smarter than you, that he's fooled you completely. Men like him, their ego is their weakness. Play to that. Before I left, Simone hugged me tight. Be careful, she whispered. If at any point you feel unsafe, you get out. You go to a public place. You call me. The evidence isn't worth your life. I'll be careful. I promise. I love you, sis. I love you too. Driving back to the city, I felt like I was two different people. On the outside, I was Naomi the grieving widow, Naomi the loyal wife. But on the inside, I was someone else. Someone harder. Someone capable of revenge. Derek was home when I got there. He hugged me and asked about my mother. She's okay, I said. Still sad but managing. And you? How are you doing? I'm okay. Just taking it one day at a time. He kissed my forehead. That's all you can do. Just remember I'm here for you. I smiled up at him. I know. You're always here for me. He had no idea those words would come back to haunt him. He was here all right. Right where I wanted him. Right where I could watch him. Right where I could gather the evidence that would destroy him. Game on, Derek. Game on. The recording device was clipped inside my bra. Small, undetectable, always recording when Derek and I were together. I had been wearing it for a week, and so far I had captured Derek lying about working late, lying about meeting with clients, lying about where his money went. But I didn't have the confession yet. The admission of the affair, the theft, the attempted murder. I needed him to say it out loud. Patricia Green, the lawyer, had been clear. We need him to admit to specific crimes in his own words. Ambiguous statements won't hold up in court. Get him to name names, state actions, acknowledge intent. Easier said than done. I had been playing the part of the broken widow perfectly. I cried at random times. I talked about how much I miss Simone. I let the house get messy. I wore the same clothes multiple days in a row. I became the picture of a woman falling apart. Derek ate it up. He became more attentive, more controlling. He started making decisions for me without asking. He took over paying bills. He suggested I take a break from managing my trust fund accounts, let him handle everything for a while. You have enough to worry about, he said. Let me take care of the finances. That's what husbands are for. I had agreed, playing dumb. Inside, I was taking screenshots of every transaction, documenting every unauthorized transfer. He was stealing even more aggressively now, thinking I wasn't paying attention. Simone and I talked every day on the burner phone. She was still hiding, still gathering evidence. Patricia had filed paperwork to freeze certain accounts, but we had to time it perfectly. If we moved too soon, Derek would run. If we waited too long, the money would disappear forever. You're doing great, Simone encouraged me. Just a little longer. He's getting comfortable. That's when he'll slip. The opportunity came on a Thursday night. Derek came home late, around 10. He smelled like alcohol and perfume. He was in a good mood, almost giddy. Good news, he said, sitting next to me on the couch. Remember that investment opportunity one told you about? Came through. We're going to make a lot of money. I knew this was a lie. I had checked our accounts. There was no investment. There was only more money being moved offshore. That's great, I said, trying to sound excited but distant, like I wasn't really paying attention. What kind of investment? Tech company. Cutting-edge stuff. The returns will be huge. How much are we investing? About $500,000. From your trust. Oh. I let my face fall. That's a lot of money. It's fine. We'll make it back 10 times over. If you say so. I turned back to the television, dismissing him. He didn't like that. His good mood faltered. Don't you trust me? Of course I trust you, I said quickly. I don't know. Ever since Simone died, I feel like I don't know anything anymore. Everything feels uncertain. I get that. But you can count on me. I'm not going anywhere. I know. He put his arm around me. Hey, I've been thinking. Maybe we should take that vacation I mentioned. Get away for a while. Clear your head. Maybe we could go to the islands? Somewhere tropical. Just relax and forget about everything for a while. I knew what he was really suggesting. Get me out of the country, somewhere isolated. Somewhere he could have me declared incompetent. Somewhere Candace could join us, and together they could finalize their plan. That sounds nice, I said carefully. But I don't think I'm ready to leave yet. Being in Simone's city makes me feel closer to her. He tensed slightly. Sure. Whatever you need. Later that night, as we were getting ready for bed, I took a risk. Derek? Can I ask you something? Of course. Did Simone ever talk to you about anything unusual? Before she died. He froze for just a second. Then he continued, brushing his teeth as if nothing had happened. Unusual how? I don't know. She called me the week before the accident. She said she needed to talk to me about something important. But I was busy. I told her it could wait. My voice broke convincingly. And now I'll never know what she wanted to tell me. Derek spit into the sink and turned to face me. His expression was sympathetic, but his eyes were calculating. She didn't say anything to me. What do you think it was about? I don't know. I just wonder if something was bothering her. If she was in some kind of trouble and I didn't notice. Your sister was fine. The accident was just that, an accident. You can't torture yourself wondering about it. You're right. I wiped fake tears from my eyes. I'm being silly. He hugged me. You're not silly. You're grieving. That's normal. But over his shoulder, I could see his face in the mirror. And he looked worried. The next day, while Derek was at work, I met with Patricia Green at her office. I handed her the memory card from the recording device. Patricia was in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She listened to the recordings with headphones, her expression serious. "This is good," she said when she finished. "He's lying about the investments, lying about his whereabouts. But we need more. We need him to specifically mention Candace. We need him to admit to the embezzlement. We need the murder confession. How do I get that? You push him. You tell him you're thinking about going to the police about something you found in Simone's apartment. See how he reacts. If he's worried, he'll want to know what you found. He might even confess to try to get ahead of it. That sounds dangerous. It is. But it's also the only way. We need him on tape admitting to crimes. Otherwise, he'll claim the money transfers were authorized, that you knew about everything, that we're making false accusations." I took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll try." That evening I put the plan into action. Derek came home from work and I was waiting at the kitchen table, Simone's journal in front of me. His face went pale when he saw it. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice tight. "Simone's apartment. I went there yesterday. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to feel close to her." He sat down slowly, never taking his eyes off the journal. "Have you read it?" "Some of it. She wrote a lot about you." "Did she?" He was trying to sound casual, but I could hear the fear underneath. "She thought you were working too hard. She was worried about you." Relief flooded his face. That sounds like Simone. Always worrying about everyone else. Yeah. I closed the journal. It's nice reading her thoughts. Makes me feel like she's still here. Maybe you should keep it somewhere safe. You don't want to lose it. I will. I had planted the seed. Now I just had to wait for it to grow. Derek knew I had the journal. He would wonder what else I had found. He would worry about what Simone had written. And when he was worried enough, he would make a mistake. I was getting good at lying. Too good. Sometimes I caught myself and wondered if I would ever be able to trust anyone again, even after this was over. 2 weeks had passed since I found the journal. Derek was on edge. He kept asking if I had read more of it. He offered to put it in a safe deposit box for me to keep it protected. He was desperate to get his hands on it, to see what Simone had written about him. I kept telling him I wasn't ready to read more yet. It was too painful. I would get to it eventually. The truth was, I had memorized every page, every word, every piece of evidence against him. And I was using that knowledge to manipulate him, to push him exactly where I needed him to go. Candace had become bolder. She called Derek constantly now. He would step outside to take the calls or go into his office and close the door. But I could hear him sometimes, his voice soft and affectionate in a way it never was with me anymore. Soon, I heard him say one night, "Just a little longer. Everything is falling into place." I recorded every conversation I could. The device was always on me, always capturing. Patricia had given me a second one as backup, just in case. Simone and I talked every night. She was getting impatient, wanting to come out of hiding and confront Derek herself. But Patricia insisted we stick to the plan. We needed solid evidence. We needed him to confess on tape. "I hate that you're going through this alone," Simone said one night. Her voice was thick with emotion. "I should be there with you. You are with me. And soon this will all be over. Promise me you're being careful. If Derek figures out what you're doing, he won't. I'm too good of an actress now. That's what I'm afraid of." She had a point. I was playing a part so well that I was losing track of who I really was. The broken, grieving wife felt more real than the angry, determined woman underneath. But I couldn't afford to lose focus. Not now. Not when we were so close. The break came on a Monday evening. Derek came home visibly upset. His jaw was clenched, his movements jerky. Something had happened. "Bad day?" I asked innocently. "You could say that." He poured himself a large whiskey, which was unusual. Derek rarely drank hard alcohol. "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." I let silence fill the room. Another thing Simone had taught me, sometimes the best way to get someone to talk was to say nothing at all. After a few minutes, Derek cracked. "There's an audit at work. They're investigating some financial irregularities." My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. "What kind of irregularities?" "Missing money. Someone's been moving funds without proper authorization." He laughed bitterly. "They think it's me. That's crazy." "Why would they think that?" "Because I have access to those accounts. Because I'm the one who processes the transfers." He downed the rest of his whiskey. "It's not me, obviously. But try convincing them of that." This was it. The opportunity one had been waiting for. "Is it serious?" I asked, moving closer to him. "Could you get in trouble?" Not if I can prove it wasn't me. But the investigation will take time. They'll freeze my accounts. They'll look into everything. Including the offshore accounts. Including the money he stole from me. Derek, is there anything I should know about? Anything about our finances that might come up in an investigation? He looked at me sharply. What do you mean? I don't know. You've been handling all the money lately. I just want to make sure there are no surprises. There are no surprises. Everything is legitimate. Okay. Good. I paused. But if there was something you would tell me, right? We're married. We're supposed to be honest with each other. He pulled me into a hug, but it felt mechanical. Of course. There's nothing to worry about. But his voice said otherwise. He was panicking. Over the next few days, Derek became increasingly paranoid. He spent hours in his office with the door locked. He made phone call after phone call. I could hear him arguing with someone, though I couldn't make out the words. Then on Thursday night, Candace showed up at our house. I was in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Derek rushed to answer it, but I was faster. Candace, I said, opening the door. What a surprise. She looked uncomfortable. Hi, Naomi. I'm so sorry to bother you at home. I just needed to discuss something urgent with Derek. Of course. Come in. Derek appeared behind me, his face tight. We can talk outside. Don't be silly, I said. It's cold out. Come in, Candace. I was just making coffee. They had no choice but to follow me into the kitchen. I could feel the tension radiating off both of them. They clearly hadn't planned on this. I made coffee, chatting about nothing important. Asking Candace about work, about the weather, about anything I could think of. Drawing it out. Finally, Derek said, Candace and I need to discuss a work matter. We'll be in my office. Oh, okay. I made my voice small, disappointed. The dismissed wife. They disappeared into his office. The door closed. But I had anticipated this. I had placed another recording device in Derek's office 2 days ago, hidden under his desk. If they talked in there, I would have every word. I waited in the kitchen, listening. Their voices were muffled, but I could tell they were arguing. Candace's voice got high and sharp. Derek's got low and angry. After 30 minutes, Candace left. She didn't say goodbye to me. Derek showed her out and came back to the kitchen, his face flushed. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just work stuff. She seemed upset. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. But I was worrying. Not about Derek, but about what they had discussed in that office. About what the recording would reveal. That night, after Derek fell asleep, I snuck into his office and retrieved the device. Back in the bathroom with the door locked, I listened to the recording through headphones. You said this would be easy. That was Candace's voice, angry and scared. You said she was clueless. You said by now we'd have everything and be gone. Plans change. The audit at work complicated things. Complicated? You're under investigation for embezzlement. They're going to find the offshore accounts. They're going to trace the money back to Naomi's trust. We're going to prison. We're not going to prison. I'll fix this. How? How are you going to fix this? I'll move the money again. Hide it better. They can't prove anything without documentation, and I've been careful. You said you were careful about the sister too, and look how that turned out. My breath caught. There it was. What's that supposed to mean? Derek's voice was dangerous now. You know what it means. You said you took care of her. You said the accident would look real. But what if someone figures it out? What if they investigate? No one is investigating. Simone is dead. Her body was identified. It's over. Is it? Because Naomi keeps bringing her up. She keeps asking questions. What if Simone told her something before she died? She didn't. If she had, Naomi would have said something by now. Are you sure? Maybe Naomi is smarter than you think. Maybe she's playing you. Don't be ridiculous. I know my wife. She's falling apart. She can barely function without me. She's not playing anyone. I hope you're right. Because if this falls apart, I'm not taking the blame alone. I'll tell them everything. The affair, the money, all of it. I'll say you forced me. You'll do no such thing. We're in this together, remember? We sink or swim together. Then we better start swimming because right now we're drowning. The recording ended with Candace leaving. I played it back 3 times, making sure I had heard correctly. Then I downloaded it to my phone and sent it to Patricia and Simone. This was it. The confession. Derek admitting to the affair, to stealing from my trust, to taking care of Simone. It wasn't explicit, but combined with all the other evidence, it was enough. The next morning, I told Derek I wasn't feeling well. I needed to see a doctor. He offered to come with me, but I insisted I would be fine alone. Instead, I drove to Patricia's office. She was waiting with Simone. My sister had risked coming into the city for this meeting. When I saw her, I started crying. "You did it," Patricia said, playing back the recording. "This, combined with everything else, is more than enough. We can move forward." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we set the trap. We let Derek and Candace think they're safe for a few more days. Then we spring it. The police will arrest them both for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. The attempted murder will be harder to prove, but the financial crimes alone will put them away for years." "When?" "1 week. We need to finalize some paperwork, coordinate with the DA's office. But 1 week from today this will be over." I looked at Simone. "1 more week. I can do 1 more week." "I know you can," she said, squeezing my hand. "You're amazing. You know that." I didn't feel amazing. I felt tired and angry and sick of lying. But I also felt something else. Hope. For the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. 1 more week. I could survive 1 more week. The final week was the longest of my life. Every moment felt stretched out, heavy. I walked through my days playing the perfect wife, all while knowing that everything was about to explode. Derek was distracted, stressed. The audit at work was closing in on him. He spent long hours locked in his office, dealing with lawyers and accountants. He thought he could talk his way out of it, cover his tracks. He had no idea it was already too late. Candace stopped coming to the house. They met at hotels now, careful about being seen together. But I knew their schedules. Simone and I had been tracking them for weeks. Every meeting, every phone call, every movement was documented. Patricia had coordinated everything with the district attorney. They had built a case using all our evidence. The recordings, the financial documents, the surveillance photos, everything. The DA was interested in the attempted murder charge too, though Patricia warned me it would be harder to prove. "The financial crimes are solid," she explained in one of our meetings. "The murder charge is more circumstantial. But even without it, Derek and Candace are looking at 15 to 20 years. That should have made me happy. Justice, revenge, everything I wanted. But mostly I just felt empty. The man I had loved, the man I had married, was a stranger. He always had been. I was mourning someone who never really existed. The plan for the confrontation was simple but effective. I would tell Derek I wanted to make a large transfer from my trust fund. He would see this as his opportunity to take even more money, maybe even to empty the account and run. We would arrange a meeting at a restaurant to discuss the details. Patricia would be there with the police. Candace would be invited too, though she wouldn't know why until she arrived. And then it would be over. 3 days before the scheduled confrontation, Derek came to me with a proposal. "I've been thinking," he said, "about that vacation. I think we should do it. This week even." "This week? That's sudden." "I know. But I'm wrapping up some things at work and I think it would be good for both of us to get away. Clear our heads. Start fresh. Start fresh." As if that were possible. As if he hadn't destroyed everything. "Where would we go?" I asked, playing along. "The Cayman Islands. I have some business connections there. We could mix business with pleasure. Stay at a nice resort. Just relax." The Cayman Islands. Where his offshore accounts were. Where all my stolen money was hidden. "That sounds nice," I said carefully. "But I'd need to take care of some financial things first. Make sure everything is in order before we leave." His eyes lit up. "What kind of financial things?" "Just some transfers. I've been thinking about what you said about investing more aggressively. Maybe I should move more money from the trust into our joint account. Make it easier for you to handle things while I'm recovering from everything." This was the bait. And Derek took it immediately. "That's a great idea. How much were you thinking?" "Most of it. Maybe 3 million. We could use it for the investments you mentioned and for the vacation." 3 million. Enough to tempt him. Enough to make him greedy. "I think that's smart," he said, trying not to sound too eager. "I can help you set that up. We could meet with the bank tomorrow. Actually, I was thinking we could meet this Saturday. At that nice restaurant you like, the one downtown. We could make an evening of it. Celebrate a new chapter. Saturday works. I'll make reservations." "Great." I smiled at him. The smile of a trusting wife who had no idea she was being robbed. "And Derek? Thank you. For everything. For being here for me. I don't know what I'd do without you." He kissed my forehead. "You'll never have to find out." After he left the room, I texted Patricia. "It's set. Saturday, 7 p.m., Riverside Restaurant." Her response came immediately. "Perfect. We'll be ready." The next 2 days crawled by. I kept up the act, playing the devoted wife. But inside I was counting down the hours. Counting down to the moment when Derek would finally face the consequences of everything he had done. On Friday night, Derek was on the phone in his office again. I stood outside the door listening. "Tomorrow night," he was saying. "She's transferring everything. 3 million into our joint account. Once it clears, we're gone. Monday morning we fly out. New identities, new life." Candace's voice was faint through the phone, but I could hear her excitement. "Finally. I can't wait to be done with all this. Just one more day. Can you meet us at the restaurant tomorrow? I'll tell Naomi I invited you to celebrate my work project being finished. She won't suspect anything." "Are you sure?" "Positive. She's completely clueless. This will be the perfect ending." Perfect ending. He had no idea how right he was. Saturday arrived. I spent the day getting ready. I chose a blue dress, the one Derek used to say was his favorite. I did my hair and makeup carefully. If this was going to be the last time I saw him as a free man, I wanted to look good. Derek was in high spirits. He kept checking his watch, eager for the evening to begin. He had no idea what was waiting for him. We arrived at the restaurant at 7. It was a nice place, expensive, with soft lighting and white tablecloths. Patricia had chosen it specifically because it was public, safe, with multiple exits. Nothing could go wrong here. We were seated at a corner table. Derek ordered wine, expensive wine. "Only the best for tonight," he said, raising his glass to me. I clinked my glass against his, but I didn't drink. I needed to be clear-headed for what was coming. Candace arrived 10 minutes later. I watched Derek's face as she walked in. His expression was careful, controlled. But his eyes were excited. "Naomi, I hope you don't mind," he said smoothly. "I invited Candace to join us. She's been such a big help with the work situation. I thought she should celebrate with us." "Of course," I said, smiling at Candace. "The more the merrier." Candace sat down, looking uncomfortable. She kept glancing at Derek, trying to read his signals. "So," Derek said, pulling out some papers. "Let's talk about the transfer. I have the forms here. You just need to sign, and we can process everything Monday morning." I looked at the papers. Authorization to transfer $3 million from my trust fund to our joint account. Derek's signature was already on it, waiting for mine. $3 million, I said slowly. "That's a lot of money." "It's your money. We're just moving it to make it more accessible." "Accessible for what?" "For investments. For our future. For everything we've talked about." I looked at Candace. She was watching me intently, her hands clasped tight on the table. "And you think this is a good idea, Candace?" I asked her directly. "Moving all this money?" She blinked, surprised to be addressed. I think Derek knows what's best." "Does he?" I set down the papers. "Because I've been thinking about this a lot. About money and trust in marriage. About what it means to really know someone." Derek's smile faltered. "Naomi, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the truth, Derek." Finally. That's when Patricia appeared at our table, along with 2 police officers. Behind them I could see more officers blocking the exits. Derek's face went white. Candace started to stand, but an officer put a hand on her shoulder, keeping her in her seat. "Derek Harrison," Patricia said formally. "Candace Reynolds. You're both under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy." "What?" Derek tried to look confused, innocent. "This is insane. Naomi, what's going on?" "I know everything," I said quietly. My voice was steady, strong. "I know about the affair. I know about the money you stole. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about Simone." At her name, Derek's face changed. The mask slipped. For just a second I saw the real him. Cold. Calculating. Dangerous. "You can't prove any of this," he said. "Actually, I can." I pulled out my phone and played one of the recordings. His voice filled the quiet restaurant, admitting to the affair, to the theft, to taking care of Simone. As the recording played, Derek's face went through a range of emotions. Anger. Fear. Candace started crying, her hands covering her face. "This is a setup," Derek said desperately. "She's lying. She's making all of this up because she's mentally unstable. I've been trying to get her help. Save it for your lawyer," Patricia interrupted. "We have months of evidence. Recordings, financial documents, witnesses. You're done." The police moved in, putting handcuffs on both Derek and Candace. Other diners were watching now, whispering, recording on their phones. As Derek was led past me, he leaned close and whispered, "You're going to regret this." No, I said, looking him straight in the eye. You're going to regret underestimating me. Then he was gone, taken out the back entrance to a waiting police car. I sat there for a moment, letting it sink in. It was over. Actually over. Patricia sat down across from me. You okay? I think so. My hands were shaking now, the adrenaline wearing off. Is it really over? The arrest is just the beginning. There'll be a trial, more testimony. But the hard part is done. You did it, Naomi. You got justice. I nodded, but I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. That's when I saw her. Simone, standing at the entrance of the restaurant. Our eyes met across the room and she smiled. My sister. Alive. Safe. Vindicated. I stood up and walked to her, and we held each other tight while people stared and whispered. Let them stare. Let them wonder. My sister was alive, the man who tried to destroy us both was under arrest, and for the first time in months I could breathe. The trial lasted 6 weeks. 6 weeks of testimony, evidence, expert witnesses. 6 weeks of reliving every lie, every betrayal, every moment of my broken marriage. I sat in the courtroom every day watching Derek and Candace try to defend themselves. They had separate lawyers, separate strategies. Derek claimed he had been authorized to move the money, that I had known about everything. Candace claimed she was manipulated by Derek, that she hadn't known the money was stolen. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings alone were damning, but combined with the financial documents, the surveillance photos, and the testimony from bank officials and computer experts, their lies fell apart quickly. Simone testified about the car accident, about how someone had run her off the road. The police had investigated further and found evidence of paint transfer on her recovered car that matched a vehicle Derek had rented that week. He had been sloppy, too confident in his plan. The defense tried to discredit Simone, pointing out that she had faked her death and falsified documents. But the judge allowed her testimony, ruling that her actions were in self-defense after Derek's attempted murder. My testimony was the hardest. I had to talk about my marriage, about how I had trusted Derek completely. How I had given him access to everything. How he had used that trust to steal from me systematically. Derek's lawyer tried to make me look incompetent, suggesting I wasn't capable of managing my own money, that Derek had been helping me. But Patricia shut that down quickly, presenting evidence of my education, my successful career, my sharp mind. Mrs. Harrison is a college graduate with a degree in business, Patricia stated. She ran her own consulting firm before her marriage. She is more than capable of managing her finances. Her husband simply took advantage of her trust. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Derek Harrison, guilty on all counts. Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. Candace Reynolds, guilty of fraud and conspiracy. The sentencing came a week later. Derek got 25 years. Candace got 15. Both would serve their time in federal prison. As the judge read the sentences, Derek turned to look at me. His face was hard, angry. He mouthed something I couldn't quite make out. Maybe another threat. Maybe just anger. I looked back at him without expression. He had no power over me anymore. He was just a man who had made terrible choices and would spend decades paying for them. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Patricia made a brief statement on my behalf, thanking the DA's office and the jury. I said nothing. I had nothing to say to the cameras and microphones. Simone and I pushed through the crowd to Patricia's car. Inside, safe from the chaos, I finally allowed myself to feel everything. The relief, the exhaustion, the strange empty feeling where anger and fear used to be. It's really over, Simone said, taking my hand. It's really over, I repeated. But it didn't feel real yet. The next few weeks were a blur. I filed for divorce, which was granted immediately given the circumstances. I took back my maiden name. Naomi Carter. It felt strange after 5 years of being Naomi Harrison, but also right. Like I was reclaiming myself. The legal team helped me recover most of the stolen money. Some was gone forever, hidden in accounts we couldn't trace, but I got back about 70%. Combined with what Derek hadn't managed to steal yet, my trust fund was still substantial. I sold the house I had shared with Derek. I couldn't stand to be there anymore, couldn't walk through rooms filled with memories of a lie. Every corner reminded me of my old life, the one where I had been happy and stupid and blind. The friend who had helped Simone fake her death faced some consequences, but the DA was lenient given the circumstances. She lost her job at the coroner's office but avoided jail time. Simone made sure she was compensated financially for the risk she had taken. 3 months after the trial ended, Simone and I stood on the porch of our new house. It was on the coast like we had always talked about when we were kids. A big house with lots of windows, overlooking the ocean. We had bought it together, sisters starting over. You think we'll ever feel normal again? Simone asked, watching the waves. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we'll just feel different. But different might be better than normal. When did you get so wise? When I realized I was stronger than I thought I was. She smiled and put her arm around me. You were always strong. You just didn't know it. I started a new business, something I had been thinking about during the trial. A consulting firm that helped women protect their assets and understand their financial rights. I wanted to use what I had learned to help others avoid what I had gone through. The business grew quickly. Apparently, a lot of women needed help, needed someone who understood what it felt like to be betrayed by someone you trusted. I hired a team of lawyers and financial advisors. We helped women set up protected accounts, identify financial abuse, gather evidence when needed. It was fulfilling in a way my old work had never been. Every woman I helped felt like a small victory, a small revenge against everyone like Derek who thought they could steal and lie and get away with it. Simone got her life back too. She officially returned from the dead, with a story about amnesia and confusion that satisfied most people. Those who knew the truth kept quiet. She rebuilt her interior design business and it flourished. Turns out, surviving a murder attempt makes for good publicity. I dated again eventually. Not seriously at first, just casual dinners and movies. Learning to trust again was hard. Every time a man smiled at me, I wondered what he was hiding. Every time someone said they loved me, I heard Derek's lies. But slowly, carefully, I opened up. I learned that not everyone was Derek. That some people were actually who they said they were. That love didn't have to mean deception. 1 year after Derek's conviction, I visited him in prison. I don't know why. Maybe for closure. Maybe to prove to myself that I wasn't afraid of him anymore. He looked older, harder. Prison had aged him. He didn't smile when he saw me sit down across from him in the visiting room. Why are you here? He asked. I wanted to see how you were doing. How do you think I'm doing? I'm in prison for 25 years because of you. No. You're in prison for 25 years because of you. Because of your choices. He laughed bitterly. You sound like a self-help book. Maybe. But I'm free and you're not. So maybe the self-help books know something. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said, I did love you. At first. Before everything went wrong. I don't believe you. I don't think you ever loved me. I think you loved my money and the life it could give you. Believe what you want. I will. I stood to leave. He called after me, Naomi? I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I turned back. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. But you're not sorry for what you did. There's a difference. That was the last time I saw Derek. I had no plans to visit again. He was my past and I was focused on my future. The second year after the trial was better than the first. The third was better than the second. Time didn't heal everything, but it made the sharp edges duller. The memories less painful. I stood in my office looking out at the ocean. The consulting firm had grown beyond anything I had imagined. We now had offices in 3 cities. We had helped over 500 women protect themselves and their assets. We had built something real and important. Simone knocked on my door. You ready? Ready for what? The interview. The magazine wants to do a feature on the business. All right. I had agreed to that weeks ago and then forgotten. Some journalist wanted to write about how we had turned trauma into purpose. Do I have to? I groaned. Yes. It's good publicity. And it might help more women find us. She was right, of course. So I sat through the interview, answering questions about Derek, about the trial, about starting over. The journalist was kind, sensitive. She had clearly done her research. What would you say to other women who are going through something similar? She asked at the end. I thought about it. I would say trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe everything is okay. And know that you're stronger than you think. You can survive things you never thought you could survive. The article came out a month later. It was titled, From Betrayal to Empowerment, How 2 Sisters Built a Business on Truth. It was honest and raw and received a lot of attention. We got hundreds of emails from women thanking us, sharing their own stories, asking for help. It reminded me why I was doing this. Not for revenge anymore, but for justice. For all the women who had been lied to, stolen from, betrayed by people they trusted. On a Saturday morning in spring, 2 years after Derek's conviction, I was having coffee on the porch when a car pulled up. A man got out, tall with kind eyes and an easy smile. His name was Thomas. We had met 6 months ago at a charity event. He was a teacher, calm and patient, with no interest in my money or my past. He just liked me. Actually liked me, not what I could give him. "Ready for our hike?" he asked, climbing the porch steps. "Ready." We drove to the mountains and spent the day walking trails, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his students, about a book he was reading. I told him about a case at work, about Simone's new design project. It was normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. That evening, back at the house, Simone made dinner while Thomas and I set the table. We ate together, the three of us, laughing and telling stories. It felt like family. Like home. After dinner, Simone excused herself, saying she had work to do. Thomas and I sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the ocean. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "Are you happy?" I thought about it. Was I happy? I wasn't the same person I had been 3 years ago. That Naomi was gone, replaced by someone harder, wiser, more careful. But also stronger, more purposeful, more alive. "Yes," I said. "I think I am. Are you? With you?" "Always." He kissed me then, gentle and sweet. No pressure, no demands. Just affection. Later that night, lying in bed, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fear, the rage. The trial, the victory, the slow healing after. I thought about Derek in his prison cell. I wondered if he ever thought about me, if he regretted his choices. Probably not. Men like him never really believed they were wrong. But that was his problem now, not mine. I thought about Candace serving her own sentence. I had never spoken to her after the trial. I had no interest in her excuses or her apologies. She had made her choices just like Derek. Mostly I thought about the future. About the business and the women we would help. About Simone, safe and alive and thriving. About Thomas and the careful, cautious way we were building something real together. I thought about trust and how I had learned to give it again, piece by piece. How I had learned that being betrayed didn't mean everyone would betray you. That loving again was possible, even after having your heart broken. The moon was full outside my window, reflecting off the ocean. The waves made their steady rhythm against the shore. Everything was peaceful. My phone buzzed. A text from a new client, a woman who had just discovered her husband's affair and wanted help. I made a note to call her first thing Monday morning. Because this was my purpose now. Not revenge but justice. Not anger but empowerment. Not dwelling on the past but building a better future. I closed my eyes and fell asleep to the sound of the ocean, safe in the knowledge that I had survived, that I had won, that I had become someone stronger than I ever thought possible. Derek had tried to destroy me. Instead, he had made me unbreakable. And that was the best revenge of all.